Hey, it's Dave from Gravity Wiz, and I've got a question for you. Is there anything that you're really good at, but that you don't particularly enjoy doing? For me, that's troubleshooting. I've got a knack for it, but it is always a grind. So what do? I make it easier. And how do I do it? GF DevTools. It's our solution for making working with and troubleshooting gravity forms as easy as wizardly possible. Let me show you how. When you get started with GF DevTools, you'll install and activate it. And then when you come to the settings page, you'll see that there are a few modules that are already activated: the preview tools, the query monitor integration, and the admin bar form manager. We're going to get to all those, but first I actually want to kick things off with one of the opt-in modules. This is the admin bar plugin manager. So I'm going to go ahead and activate this. I'm going to save the settings. You're going to notice here it says plugin manager must use plugin created successfully. And the whole goal of this is that you can actually deactivate gravity forms and GF DevTools itself and still be able to reactivate gravity forms or GF DevTools through this plugin manager must use plugin. So I'm going to refresh this just so it shows up in the bar here, the admin bar. And when we click this, you can see that we can actually search. So for example, if I wanted to search for gravity forms, I can reveal another really awesome feature here. So first of all, you can see this version of gravity forms is deactivated, and I have two versions of gravity forms installed. In some cases, you may find that you need to test if something changed between two versions and you want to toggle back and forth. In the old way of doing things, you'd have to go and deactivate one and then activate the other, which is just, again, all these page refreshes, all these different actions. With this, it's just a single click. And now we are on the other version of gravity forms. The previous version you can tell because the header has changed to the old version of the header. And then just as easily, if we want to go back after we've finished our testing, we can go back to the new version just like that. And we get our nice splash screen letting us know of all the good stuff that's in 2.9. Now we will continue to use admin bar plugin manager throughout this demo, but it's going to take a little bit of a back seat as we move on to the next plugin, and that is the admin bar form manager. So much like the admin bar plugin manager, the admin bar form manager shows up in your admin bar right here. You can click on it and add new forms, import a form, or activate any or navigate to any of your existing forms. One of my favorite ways to activate this menu, though, is to actually do Shift FF, and then it will open it up automatically. So first things first here, we can just go and navigate to an existing form. Awesome. Shift FF again, and I'm going to add a new form. Pretty cool. And then let's say I wanted to create a new form with a specific title, like my demo form. Well, you just type it in and hit enter, and then there we go. We have a new form with a title of my form demo. Now I can scroll down and just add a couple fields to this form, save that, and we're going to do Shift FF again, and we are going to export this current form. Awesome, right? Just immediately available. This is great if you need to get a form export over to the support team for some deeper troubleshooting. And then last thing I'll show you for this is that you can import a form. This will just take you quickly to the import screen where you can choose a file. In this case, I'll choose the export that I just had and import it. We'll go over to that form, and you can see we're on my demo form 1 now because it created a new form when it imported, and all of our fields are here. I'm going to go back to the settings here and to the DevTools just so we can kind of visually follow along. But the next thing I'm going to demonstrate is the preview tools. So jumping back to our demo form here, you'll notice that I actually already have a few of these enabled. Let's disable everything so we can get to a kind of core state. And let's just show you a refresher of what the default preview looks like. It's this right here. You've seen it before, you've seen it a million times. But let's say I wanted to see what this form is going to look like on the front end of my site without actually having to go and embed it in a page. That's what live preview is all about. You'll see it even changes the name of the preview button to live preview. If you click on that, you can go through, and now we're on the front end of my site. Awesome. So now Ajax, you can enable that to submit the form with Ajax by default. It does not, Gravity Forms does not enable Ajax. We're not going to do that for the demo just because it's kind of hard to visualize the Ajax submission versus a regular submission. It's something that kind of almost happens behind the scenes. But speaking of behind the scenes, the show hidden option is really awesome. So before I enable it, I'm going to go and add a hidden field to this form. Oop, there we go. And I'm going to go down to advanced and I'm going to set a special value here. This is often how hidden fields are used, okay? So now we're going to go and preview the form, and I can't see that special value. I don't know that it was set. I could open up my DevTools and check that way, but it's just not the easiest way to do it because there's this show hidden option that when we go, it actually will reveal the field to you. Still visually indicated as a hidden field, but now you can see that value and modify it, which can be also useful in a variety of troubleshooting and tests. Next up is unrequire. So again, before I enable that, let me go and set these fields to required. Ooh, there it is. Awesome. Save the form, preview. And so now we're going to submit this. And of course, we can't submit it because we have two fields that are required. But again, especially on long forms, it can be very annoying to have to go in and fill out every single field. And unrequire can be a useful tool. So let's save the form again and preview now. And now we're going to submit the form and it just goes through. Nothing blocking our path. You can get those quick test submissions just done immediately. Next is the single page. So again, before I add this one, we're going to go and add some pages to the form. Actually, I'll just add one page. So make a 2-page form. And again, if we come here now, we'll see that we have our step 1 and we can go to step 2, etc. And again, on large multi-page forms, sometimes you need to enter values on specific fields, but it's just such a chore to go through each page individually. And that's where single page comes in. You enable that, we'll save the form. And now everything is on a single page. Makes testing multi-page forms so much easier. There's also this ability to disable notifications. So if you're working on a company form and you don't want your boss to get notified of every test submission, super helpful. And lastly, there's this idea of ignoring form restrictions. So we'll go over to settings for this one. And we're going to go down to the restrictions section. And we're going to just enable an entry limit of 1. And we'll save this. And just a note, this does work with the schedule form restriction as well. So we're going to go to live preview and you're going to say, hey, sorry, this form is no longer accepting new submissions. And that is because we have this restriction in place, but we can always just ignore form restrictions. And there we go. Now we can submit this form as many times as we want. Now, again, this is a testing feature. It makes it so you can bypass these things that you wouldn't want, your normal users to bypass, and just provides like a really handy way to do that through the preview menu. Okay, let's move on to the query monitor integration. So this is enabled by default, and all we need to do, we're going to actually do Shift PP to activate our plugin manager, and we're going to just type in query monitor and enable that. So that is now enabled. And so now if we go back to our form and we go to the live preview here, and I'm going to see up in the admin bar, you see query monitor is active. And if we come down to the Gravity Forms tab here, we can see a couple handy little features here. So first, we have the ability to identify the form. So if your form is somewhere on a long page, being able to click this button and it will just automatically scroll to it and pulse. I'll click that again so you can see. And so that way you can easily visualize where that form is at on the page. Now, we have unrequire enabled, but if we weren't using unrequire and we just wanted to actually populate sample values, you can see that the populate button does just that. And then you can even clear those values as well, and boom, populate all new values. Of course, you can submit it, and the cool thing is that when you submit, it captures all of the logs, all of the Gravity Forms logging that happens on submission gets captured here, so you can see it directly in Query Monitor. This is huge for being able to troubleshoot things without having to go and manually enable the logging and then check the logs after you go to the submission. All that back and forth is just eradicated. You can just see everything right here in the log. Super handy. Moving right along, we are going to go to the auto field naming. Now this one I don't think is going to be generally useful for everybody, but I'm still going to show it to you. So this is something that we use a lot in support. I'm going to actually do Shift FF to open up our form manager, and I'm going to create a new form for this one. And now that we have auto naming enabled, let's say that we're adding multiple name fields to a form. And again, this is very much in the ballpark of testing, right? Like you're just trying to explore something, trying to recreate an issue perhaps. So then this will just add letters to the end of the name. So we have name field A, name field B, and then if we did email fields, then we could do email field C, email field D. And this has just been really helpful to us when we're just trying to create forms quickly, rather than having to have like name, email. Having these kind of unique identifiers is just been a really helpful tool for us. Similarly, in the same realm, we have the drop down, and this is for the choices. So by default, Gravity Forms has the first choice, second choice, third choice. But now with auto naming enabled, you'll get fourth choice, fifth choice, sixth choice, etc., etc. Just keep going. Have fun with those. Now, the other feature I want to show you is one-click field delete. This was a special request from our support team. Oftentimes when you're troubleshooting a form, you'll duplicate it and then you'll start to try to remove fields to simplify where the issue might be coming from. Let's go to our editor preferences. We're going to enable compact view. And when compact view is enabled and the one-click field delete is enabled, it will add this delete icon right here. And the beauty of this is that there's no confirmation. So I actually should have showed you what it looks like without this first. So if we were to delete this field manually or the old-fashioned way, you click the icon, you got to go to the warning, okay. And again, you have to hover over it to get that menu. It's just a lot more manual labor there. And this just makes it a lot easier to do. All right, just a couple more modules to go here. We're going to jump over to the dummy entry creator. This is a really cool one. So once you've enabled it and refresh that page to get this menu item to show up, we'll have dummy entries here. And now you can select any form. So let's select our demo form since we've already been working with that a bit. And I'm going to create 1,000 entries. I'm going to start this batch. It'll process very quickly. Awesome, and it's done. So now we're going to do Shift FF to activate our form manager, and we're going to go to that demo form that we just created all these entries for. We're going to click entries, and there you go. We have 1,003 entries because we had already submitted 3 ourselves. And you can see it does like some rough approximations of real names and real emails, and then random values from some of the other field types. This is great. I use this myself when I'm doing testing with entry blocks, which is all about displaying entries on the front end. And I just want to get a bunch of sample data in there so I can see what it would look like as I'm editing those templates. All right, and last but certainly not least, we're going to jump back over and do the dummy payment gateway. Save that, it's enabled. We're going to again Shift FF to activate our form manager. We're going to add a new form this time. And I'm going to add a product field to this. And I'm just going to give it a price of $10. We're going to save this. And we're going to go to settings, and you're going to see the dummy payment gateway is now enabled. And so with this enabled, we can go and click here to add a new field. And I'm not going to change any of the defaults there, but I will select product and services for the transaction type. Payment amount, we're just going to use the form total, but you could also select a specific product if you wanted. And then I'm just going to jump down here to, again, I think the most useful feature of this is to handle the scenario where you are capturing the payment after the entry is created. And that is called delayed capture. So we're going to save the settings. I'm going to go and live preview this. I'm going to enter in, I'm actually going to close Query Monitor now. I'm going to enter in a quantity of 1. I'm going to submit that form. Let's go back to our entry that we just created now. We're going to view it, and you can see there's our total of $10. You can see there's a note here that the payment has been authorized, but it has not been captured. So any actions that you have connected to a post-payment event, we can now trigger with this capture payment. Boom. So now payment has been completed, and that amount has been captured, and you can even refund the payment as well. So this just gives you the ability to test anything payment related without having to hook up to a sandbox or even a real payment gateway. Again, just a very useful tool, especially when you're trying to narrow down a complex issue just to rule out where it might actually be happening. And that, my friends, is a wrap. I think I have made my case that GF DevTools is going to make working with and troubleshooting gravity forms a heck of a lot easier. If you have ideas on how we can make it even better, we want to hear them. Please reach out to us. Our legendary support team is waiting to hear from you. Thanks so much and have a great day. Thank you.